So if you've always lost weight only to gain it back, first of all, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't feel bad. In fact, there's research that suggests around 80 to 95% of people who lose weight end up gaining it back. The problem is you don't even know why it's happening, and you keep asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Well, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just human. So today I want to show you why you keep gaining the weight back and what you can do to finally keep it off. Hey, this is Colin DeWaay. If you want to lose the weight and finally keep it off, then make sure you subscribe and click on that bell notification so you don't miss anything. So arguably the biggest reason you always gain the weight back is something that happens in you physiologically, and that's when you lose weight, you end up getting below what's called your body fat set point. See, your body has this rough body fat that it wants to be at, that it's used to being at, and if you get too far below that, your body doesn't like it, and it literally wants you to gain the body fat back. This is really just your body doing its job to keep you from starving to death. Your body's job is not to have you look good naked, it's its job to keep you alive, and if it fears there's a lack of energy supply, which is your food, it's gonna slow things down in your metabolism to make sure that doesn't happen. So by the time you finish your diet, your hunger hormones are all off, your testosterone, your thyroid, everything basically in your body is now in a more suboptimal place, and it leaves you feeling more hungry, more food focused, more agitated. Sometimes it's harder to sleep, you just have no energy, and you feel unmotivated. So this is why when you get to the end of your diet and you feel so crappy and you just want to eat everything in sight and do nothing, this is what your body wants you to do. So you didn't know this before, now you do, so we need to work with it to make sure you don't give your body what it wants. So what you want to do when you're done with your fat loss phase is now you're going to go through what's called a reverse diet, where we gradually increase your calories, and what this does is it allows you to undo the suppression in your metabolism, get it back up where it should be, and by gradually increasing calories, it helps minimize the fat gain, whereas if you just jump calories back up quickly or just completely stop paying attention and end up way overdoing it, when you do that, you're going in with a slow metabolism to begin with, and you end up seeing this rapid fat gain. So with a more gradual approach, it helps keep that fat gain at bay more. However, you have to understand something, and this takes a lot of people by surprise. Just because you're now gonna get to eat more doesn't mean you're gonna be less hungry right away and you're just gonna feel better. It's gonna take time. And if you have this expectation of now the hard part's over, you're likely to be sadly mistaken. And I try to warn everyone who finishes a fat loss phase that the hard part is not over yet. In fact, it's just beginning. The early stages of your reverse diet, or even if you're not reverse dieting, just post-diet, this is almost always the more difficult phase. You're gonna be way more hungry, you're gonna be more tired, you're gonna be less motivated, because not only do you have the physiological changes that happen, but now you also don't have that result to focus on. You're so motivated by progress, but when you stop the fat loss phase, now you're not gonna see that progress anymore, and it's like, why stick to the plan so closely if I'm not even gonna see fat loss? I just wanna eat more food now. But if you aren't careful, you're gonna end up gaining really quickly. So especially in the early stages of your reverse diet, you want to stay diligent. I really recommend you just basically view the early stages of the reverse as an extension of your cutting phase, and don't even think about it as a way to get more calories and everything else, because you got to give your body time to regulate. But even though you probably want to get to a spot where you can be more intuitive now and not have to work so hard because you're done with that phase, you really want to make sure your body has stabilized before you go into a more intuitive approach, because your intuition is going to be to eat everything. So you want to get to a spot where you're not feeling so hungry, food focus is down, you're feeling good, recovery is good, and you're not in this I just want more food mindset before starting eating more intuitively. And while that's difficult to do in the moment, you really want to delay that gratification and think big picture, because you will be rewarded handsomely. And in fact, sometimes people respond so crazy good during this phase because it's almost like a magic window of time where your metabolism ramps up, your hormones improve, you feel better, you have more energy, you recover better, and some crazy things can happen. Not that you should ever expect to lose weight, but it can happen. But if you keep overdoing it, what ends up happening is you keep gaining weight, so you don't want to increase your calories, but then you keep overeating, and it's like your calorie targets never go up, but you just keep gaining, and that can get super demoralizing. Now, I will say this, there isn't a one set way of increasing calories, fast or slow, and unfortunately, a lot of the info that we see out there comes from bodybuilders, competitors who go on the stage and get to ridiculously lean levels, and then the argument becomes you should never slowly increase calories, you should just do what's called a recovery diet where you jump them up really quickly to feel better, but that's not relevant to you, the regular person, and none of my videos are geared toward competitors. So understand there's pros and cons to a slower or faster approach. The faster you increase calories, the faster you're gonna feel better and get more food and all those benefits, but the more likely you are to gain. The slower you increase calories, the longer it's gonna take to feel better, but the less likely you are to gain. Now, another big struggle why you always gain weight, well, you're just doing something to lose the weight without putting any thought into what you're gonna do when the weight's gone. And oftentimes that means some mad dash to the finish line, doing unsustainable dieting methods, and just feeling like, well, I'll just do it and then I'm done. That mentality has to stop. You have to accept that you're always gonna have to put in work no matter what. You can't ever be done. There's times to be much less flexible, you'll get much more food, all that stuff will happen, yes, but you still have to pay attention. You can't ever just go back to just eating whatever you want. You can't just completely stop working out. That's why you always hear it has to be a lifestyle. It does. So no more extreme restriction, no more banning all your favorite foods, no more punishing yourself with endless brutal exercise, just trying to rush the process. Take your time and make sure it's sustainable. And hey, I get it, all this stuff is hard. It's mentally hard. I talk all the time about the mental challenges and how it's just as, if not more important than the physical of what to do. But even though it's hard and you probably get tired of all this stuff, I do too. Like, I get tired of eating a lot of protein and monitoring my intake and, going to the gym 4 days a week, every week, no matter what. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but the thing is, while all that stuff can be tiring and hard and kind of feel like you're getting burned out, well, you can also say the same for being uncomfortable in your own skin and always being overweight and having low energy and having health risks and being unhappy with the way you look. You get tired of that too. So it's kind of like, choose your hard, right? Like, it's hard to stick to the plan, but it's hard to not stick to the plan and end up with the result that comes with that. So make sure you understand why you're doing what you're doing and hold on to that. And all that being said, while you can definitely do things to minimize weight gain, and when I say weight, please understand I'm talking about fat gain, all right? So weight and fat are not one and the same. They can be, but they're not always, especially when you're building muscle, especially after a diet, you're gonna replenish some glycogen storage and some water weight and things like that. So you always have to consider that, but you also have to consider that weight maintenance is more of a range over a long period of time. And there's a huge difference between gaining a little bit of weight back to feel better and have more flexibility in your diet and perform better and all that stuff versus gaining all the weight back, especially because you just said F it and went back to your yo-yo dieting mentality. So don't forget how far you've come. Don't be afraid of weight gain. Don't be afraid of undoing all your hard work. That's not gonna happen unless you completely give up and understand that your weight in your body is not what makes you who you are. Now, if you wanna know more about how fast you should increase your calories based on how things are going and what's most important to you, then make sure you check out this top video next, and I'll take you through everything you need to know. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in that other video.